It began with laughter, cold, cruel, alien. The Vedra Dominion called it a correction of balance. To humanity, it was the Vega Prime massacre. Vega Prime was a jewel among the frontier worlds, a planet of oceans and glass cities, home to 12 million colonists, scientists, and families, a beacon of cooperation between species. Humanity had built it not as a fortress, but as a promise that peace among the stars was possible. The Vedra saw it as weakness. They came without warning, a fleet of bone-white warships gliding from warp space like predators through fog. Their flagship, Dominion's Wrath, carried High Exarch Vra'kul, a being whose voice could be heard across channels even before the first strike. "The human flame spreads too freely," Vra'kul declared. "Let us dim it before it burns the void." And with that, they fired. The orbital defense grid fell in minutes. The Vedra ships bombarded Vega Prime cities with plasma storms. Oceans boiled, continents cracked, and the skies turned black. Those who tried to flee were hunted, their evacuation ships pierced and vaporized in orbit. The Vedra did not simply destroy, they broadcast it. Every human system received the transmission. Vega's final hours turned into spectacle. Children choking in smoke. Colonies turned to glass. An envoy's final words drowned in static. And over it all, Vra'kul's mocking voice: "Humans burn bright, but small." The mockery of the Dominion for the Vedra, it was done. They had made an example. In the Galactic Council halls, they laughed behind veiled protocols and polite diplomacy. The Dominion's representatives called it necessary containment. They reminded the lesser species that humanity was reckless and unproven. One Vedra admiral was recorded saying, "The humans have spirit but no teeth. Their fleets are quaint, their armies undisciplined. They bark, but they cannot bite." They were confident, arrogant. They thought Earth would send words, not warships. Because that was the pattern. Humanity had always sought peace first, always negotiated, always restrained. The Terran Accord had signed treaties even after provocations, hoping to hold together a fragile galactic civility. So, the Vedra waited for the protests, for the condemnation speeches, for humanity's predictable restraint. They waited for mercy. What they did not know was that mercy had already burned to ash on Vega Prime. The silence before the stars moved. When the last signal from Vega faded, Earth did not speak. No transmission, no outrage, no threat, just silence. In that silence, something ancient stirred. The Terran Strategic Assembly, long dormant since the Age of Expansion, reconvened. Beneath the frozen surface of Europa, under black oceans of pressure and secrecy, the old war councils awakened. No broadcasts leaked, no diplomats were summoned, only orders. Across the Sol system, entire shipyards went dark, and then flared to life with a fury unseen in centuries. In orbit around Mars, dry docks the size of continents lit up as dreadnoughts began their resurrection. Luna's far side filled with construction shadows. Swarms of automated forges building something vast, something quiet, something meant to end wars. Every beacon that humanity had planted across the frontier went silent in synchronization. Civilian networks, trade relays, even entertainment channels, all cut off, one by one. And then came the whisper, spreading through back channels, intercepted by every intelligence agency in the galaxy. Operation Helios Protocol. Active. No one knew what it meant. Not even the allies who once fought beside humanity. But those who remembered the old wars, the Skarn rebellions, the siege of Titan, the fall of the Oort Line, began to whisper warnings. The galaxy had seen humanity defend itself. It had never seen humanity enraged. The day Earth answered, Vedra Dominion's sensors first detected it on the outer edge of their space. A distortion, faint, rhythmic, like ripples in gravity itself, then hundreds, then thousands. Their watch stations blinked red as the first Terran warp gates tore open. Out stepped ships the galaxy had only seen in rumor. War engines larger than cities, their hulls black as midnight and glowing with the dull red heat of weapon cores older than some stars. They carried no banners, no ident marks. Only a single sigil burned into every hull, the symbol of Earth, crowned by a single, blazing sun. The Helios fleet had arrived. The Dominion scrambled its defenses, 1,000 cruisers, planetary shields, orbital fortresses. But the humans did not slow. They moved like a storm made of geometry and vengeance. Their first salvo burned a moon. The second shattered the Vidra frontier headquarters. Not bombarded, but disassembled. Every atom torn apart by quantum shear. The third strike silenced communication for half the Dominion. By the time Vrakul's flagship Dominion's Wrath could raise shields, human dreadnoughts had already surrounded it. They did not hail. They did not demand surrender. They spoke once. One voice transmitted across every frequency. "This is for Vega Prime." Then they fired. The beam was not light. It was sunfire, a controlled collapse of a microstar weapon, unleashed at point-blank range. The Vedra flagship, a vessel revered as indestructible, melted like wax before a god's breath. The light of its death could be seen from 3 systems away. The fall of suns, the war should have taken years. It took 12 days. The Helios fleet moved like a scythe through the Dominion's empire, leaving nothing behind but silence and glowing ruins. Entire armadas blinked out before they could even engage. Planets that had once been jewels of the Dominion became molten glass, their atmospheres ripped away by kinetic bombardment. Every defense that the Vedra had built over centuries shattered. Humanity's weapons were not simply stronger. They were designed for extinction. They deployed solar lances, beams that ignited upper atmospheres, turning skies into liquid fire. They used graviton cascades, invisible storms that pulled moons into their own planets. And when the Vedra tried to flee into deep space, humanity unleashed the Sunspear arrays, orbital cannons capable of collapsing stars into themselves. In 12 days, 3 Vedra suns died. Not metaphorically, their stars fell. Systems once bright with life became lightless tombs, their gravity wells littered with fragments of planets that no longer existed. Every species watched, in horror, as entire constellations vanished from the galactic maps. This was not war. This was judgment. The last transmission, the remnants of the Vedra Dominion fled to their capital world, Vraxis Prime, a world ringed with shields strong enough to resist an entire fleet. They broadcast one final message to humanity. Desperate, trembling beneath the weight of annihilation. "We yield. We surrender. We will pay reparations. Just stop." For a long time there was no response. Then a single Terran transmission came through, voice calm, almost gentle. "When Vega Prime called for mercy, you gave them fire. Now, we return it. Equal measure." The skies above Vraxis Prime lit up. Every orbiting satellite, every moon, ignited in synchronized bursts. Humanity had placed mirrored singularity charges across the system, each one tuned to the exact resonance of the planet's core. When they detonated, Vraxis Prime did not explode. It collapsed. The planet folded into itself, forming a black sphere the size of a city. Its mass crushed, its people erased, its empire gone. The system's sun dimmed for a moment, and then died. The echoes of retribution. When it was over, humanity did not celebrate. There were no parades, no victory speeches, no songs. The Helios fleet drifted in the dark for a week. Silent, cold, as if mourning the act it had committed. And then, as quietly as they came, they vanished. Every ship folded back into warp space and disappeared beyond the rim. No one knew where they went. Some said they returned to Sol. Others believed they scattered, hidden, waiting, guarding the stars. What remained was fear. The Galactic Council convened in emergency. Every species sent envoys to Earth, begging for treaties, offering reparations for crimes they hadn't even committed. Anything to avoid the fate of the Vedra. Humanity said little. Only one statement was issued, carved into the archives of the Council. "We sought peace among the stars. But peace is not submission. We forgive easily. We forget never." The lesson of the void centuries passed. The Vedra Dominion became myth. Their worlds marked as forbidden zones. Their memory used to warn children of arrogance. In time, travelers found one of their old systems, a region where the stars themselves had gone dark. At the center drifted a single object, a sphere of black glass, cold and silent. No radiation, no reflection, only a faint inscription on its surface, written in human script. "Here fell those who thought our fire small." Pilots whispered that if you drifted too close, your ship's systems would flicker, and for a moment, you would hear something through the static, a whisper. Old, distant, human. "Suns fell once. Do not make us remember again." The enduring fear, and so the galaxy learned. They learned that humanity's patience was infinite, until it wasn't. They learned that mercy was their first language, but vengeance, their oldest. The story of Vega Prime became sacred among alien fleets. Commanders studied it in silence. Admirals ordered their soldiers never to fire first at human ships, no matter the provocation, for they understood now. Humanity's flame was not small. It was the fire of worlds, the forge of suns, and when kindled by loss, it burned through eternity. In the end, only one truth remained. Carved into the history of the stars, they thought our fire small, but suns fell.